on Facebook, you want to hear the music, you want to hear what's going on in the background, tune into the YouTube channel, Black Tea Sip with Coy on YouTube. Find the channel, subscribe, and then you can get all the little fillers that Facebook won't allow me to give y'all. All right, in power and truth, I'm gonna say some things that's gonna rock you. I'm just thinking now, because I'm a thinker. That's what I do. And so I started thinking to myself. I said, self, and I answered myself, yes. And I started to wonder, why is it that we are always hearing about very prominent, powerful Caucasian men involved in pedophilia? Now we have our president involved in pedophilia. And so I remember Penn State, and I started thinking about all of that. And I said, well, now, this is what I know. So years ago, I started to realize that there was a lot of YouTube, and it might still be out there, but there was a lot of YouTube videos about Satanism in Hollywood and Satanism in hip hop. I know black people that are woke and conscious and enlightened don't believe in the devil. Well, the greatest thing the devil ever did was convince you he didn't exist. But this is not at all. This is not Bible study at all. This is not even a history lesson. I'm just going to give it to you like it came to me, and then y'all do what y'all want to with it. So we were, my ex-husband and I, because, he pretty woke. Just wasn't woke enough to keep me. But that's a talk show for a different day. So my ex introduced me to it. And it was Satanism in hip hop. And one of the things they said was there was ritualistic, systemic pedophilia ceremonies for them to be able to keep their power or celebrityism. Now, I'm not saying I believe it. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm just saying this is what came to me. And so I started thinking about that all these many years ago when they had all these YouTube videos about it, and they were drawing correlations and reaching in the Bible and putting it all together. But we know that the Bible has been manipulated for eons to serve a purpose. So I'm just giving it to you as I'm connecting the dots. But there is satanic ritualistic ceremonies that involve using and abusing children. You have Jeffrey Epstein, who was in the Donald Trump camp, who was given leniency by the previous Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta. And we know that Trump going around grabbing women in their private business. We know that he has no regard for women, and so I started to think, this man is a criminal. In every sense of the word. He is a criminal on every level. He even is a criminal. He could go on that show, Dumb Criminals. Like, how they had that show and they talk about the dumb stuff or the stupid stuff that criminals do. Donald Trump this is so heavy. USA Today, a international publication, came out through their editorial board. So let's pause there for a moment. Editorial boards usually make decisions about the consensus of the paper. Okay. So we do it here at Dallas Morning News. They come out and they will say they recommend a particular political candidate. But USA Today says they've always shied away from that in actually choosing and siding with a candidate. And they have never done this before. Here's the thing. They came out and said yesterday, Donald Trump is unfit for the office of presidency, and said they have never done that before. And then they went point by point by point to substantiate why they were deflecting from what they have always done, and actually said this man is unfit. Well, now we don't need them to tell us that.
Yeah, who doesn't believe that by now? And if you are, then you're probably one of those supporters that's a derelict of society anyway. So,
well, you know what? That's not true. I used to think that too. That's not true. Let me tell you something. Now, this was eye-opening for me. I did not realize that there are huge discrepancies between the Hispanic nation and the Latino nation. I was ignorant. I didn't know. See, I was ignorant enough to group everybody the same. Here's the thing. I had someone tell me that we just divided it. And she was Latino. She is Latino because she ain't gone. She said to me, we are just divided as y'all are. And it tickled me. It tickled me a great deal because what she said was, nobody's perfect. I was listening to NPR, and this man with a very thick accent said, I'm Caucasian. Well, I'm Hispanic. I was like, you get to do that? You get to pick? You get to choose? Like I didn't know you could do that. That's why my friend was saying to me very pointedly that just like we can't trust all our people to do right by us in the voting booth, to go on in there and vote in a way that speaks to the community, she was saying neither can we. But what I also didn't realize was that when we are talking about Latinos and Hispanics and we grouping them all together, that's wrong. That's not right. That's not what we should do. Hispanics usually means Spanish, Spain. Latinos mean South America. Okay, so I got an education. If that's wrong, y'all tell me it's wrong, but that's how it was given to me. So I started to think to myself, this is why we have so many, and I've been getting so many videos, and y'all, thank you, keep them coming. So many videos of people that you would normally think, okay, they're in Hispanic community, so they see themselves as a minority, so they're voting with us, supporting Donald Trump. They are just like those stupid black people who are standing up with those blacks for Trump. So we need to be very careful about our affiliations and how we turn. So to your point, no, these are not derelicts of society. These are people that have fully embraced a Fox News mentality.
I don't understand it. How he had so much support in the Latino or Hispanic community, however that's segregated, and now they're raiding homes. He's done an executive order to solicit all information from every branch of government to figure out who's not here legally. And to go and put those people out of the country, some of which you've never even lived in a different country. They just, don't have the proper documentation. So I just don't know how that is appropriate. I think that is the new, almost,
It's Jim Crow.
Yeah.
It's new Jim Crow.
it's
and
terrible.
We need to be outraged.
I am outraged.
They have packed those people in these concentration camps. And so the Jewish community is saying, no, I don't want it to be called, but they're divided too. My girlfriend who listens in New York, hey, Jennifer, she called me and said, I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish, went to high school together. She said, it is a concentration camp. And I don't know what's wrong with the stupid Jews who say this now. So we all going around, we divided, everybody's calling everybody else stupid. So this is what needs to happen. We as a black community, we are the largest voting pool in the United States of these Americas. We need to be standing up. We need to be screaming and yelling and kicking and screaming because they are packing them into these concentration camps like the Middle Passages.
It is inhumane.
It's inhumane.
That's why they won't let cameras in there. That's why you get, very limited photo ops of what's actually happening there. Kids just dying, just not receiving proper medical treatment for things that are preventable. It is unacceptable.
They went to court, they being the Trump administration. And I'm calling him by his name today, y'all. I'm not calling him the orangutan in the Oval Office running the 3 green circles, although that's exactly what it is. But I am saying they went to court to explain their point of view as to why these babies don't deserve a proper sleeping padding, not just a cot, just like your mom, what's grandmom used to call it?
The cot on the floor?
No,
a pallet.
Pallet. Thank you. Your grandma with a pallet on the floor. Why they don't deserve toothbrushes and toothpaste, soap? These babies need to wash. And it ought to shock the consciousness of every single person. So Trump does not care about these children because he's a pedophile. Yes, I have said it out of my face. He is a pedophile. And that's why he doesn't think anything about these children, because there is no way that you would order anyone from the Department of Justice or the Attorney General's office to go to court and argue against not allowing someone to have soap. So you know what I thought about? 12 years a slave. Where that girl, when she said, I'm hauling more cotton than any man on this plantation, and for that I will be clean. That's all I could think about. They are now experiencing a Jim Crow. I've said before, my great-grandmother was Mexican. She chose to live her life as a light-skinned black woman. It was easier for her to live as black than it was for her to live as Mexican at the time. So I have an affinity. We don't have the same relationships because over time, when people die, you drift away. But I have an affinity for the Mexican community because I feel a part of it in spirit. I have affinity for the Native American community because my daddy's side of the family is Native American, and we cannot get a number. And I talk about that because when you are Native American and you are given a number, you go to school for free, you get free health care. Depending on what tribe you are, you get a check. I have another very dear friend that's born in Oklahoma. She does get her health care, but she cannot get her son because they will not verify or validate her number. We need to understand what it means to live in this country and be a minority. We are the largest voting pool in the United States of America. We need to be outraged. I'm not saying that you need to be supportive of immigrants coming to this country illegally. I'm not saying that you need to disapprove of it. What you ought to disapprove of is the inhumane treatment of children. And then for the United States of America to go around the globe talking about who they're not going to affiliate because of their treatment of their citizens. Are you freaking kidding me? Trump has decided that this is appropriate behavior. And I say because he is satanic and a pedophile. That is what I'm saying out of my face. I have said it. So FBI people, just run tell that. Because I believe it. I believe that there is no God in anyone who can treat children like this. You've created an inhumane system with the adults. Men, they say fights are starting to break out. People are bullying because they're looking for a way to feel whole. Anytime you take people and you strip everything away from them that is humane, they react to that. Then you say, well, they're acting like animals. But you have treated them like animals. You have put them in cages. Locked them in there with a lot of other people. They don't even have a place. They say it's standing room only. You don't have a place to lay down. Mm-hmm. How is that? How is that justifiable? And Trump would use your dollars. Understand that the times they file in court, that costs money. The time that they take to the filing fees, that's money. The time and the energy they take, the gas they writing it off. However they're getting there in the company car, they go to court. They spending time not working on things like stopping police officers shooting and killing black folks in the street. That's time and energy and money taken away from true causes. And he is putting these children in harm's way. The children are dying. And now the adults. It won't be long. They wouldn't let the doctors. They went to court to stop doctors from going in there to see about children.
But you spend $92 million on a stinking parade.
That nobody attended.
That nobody attended. That it wasn't unnecessary. Like you're some, dictator of some country. And, maybe that's what he wanted the world to see and to try to portray. But it's senseless. It is ridiculous. And executive power is dangerous in the wrong hands. And I just, anybody who wants to continue this reign of terror, as I see it.
And tyranny.
And tyranny is out of their minds, just completely.
And you cannot justify the way that these people are being treated. You cannot justify that. And I'm sorry, but I really thought long and hard, purposefully and intentfully about whether or not the Dildo of the Day award should go to Trump supporters. I don't think calling you a dildo, because my mom won't let me say the word I want to say. I don't think calling you a dildo suffices. You are mistreating these people in a way that is unconscionable. And regardless of whether you feel like they should be here or not, I have mixed emotions about it as well. I have friends that say that when the proper channels are not taken, that it drains the resources. We know the Dallas County, Parkland was saying the same thing. But this is not about whether or not they came here legally or illegally. That's not what this is about. This is about a show of strength to show how you can abuse and misuse people. That is what this is about. But, they claim to be Christians, and they claim that they are doing God's work. And what I realized is claiming to be a Christian is a dog whistle for hate. I just figured that out. I did not know that. I was only maybe 7 days old when I found that out. We're going to talk about it in just a minute, because did y'all know it's a hate group called Christians Against the Little Mermaid?
Yes, Lord.
I'll be right back. Let's talk about it. This is Core with the Black Tea Sip. I got my girl in here today, Shanika. She's with me. Go grab your cup. I'm going to fill it up. We'll be back in just a minute.
No one makes me feel the way you do inside.
So I had some feedback, and which I love, and so I had Patrick's talking about black folks don't need to worry about immigration. We need to worry about refocusing on jobs. Well, now black folks need to. That we don't have the luxury, in my humble opinion, to focus on one something. We don't have that luxury. We have to be multifaceted and multidimensional. So, yes, we do need to focus on jobs. And his point was we don't need to worry. Black folks are not worried about whether or not immigrants are coming here taking our jobs. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is what they do to them today, they'll do to us tomorrow. See, we need to join forces so that we are able to stand shoulder to shoulder and talk about the mistreatment of all people. We've been doing this since the dawn of time. See, we signed the Emancipation Proclamation in January of 1863. 100 years later, y'all know I do this all the time. 100 years later, in 1963, we got the Civil Rights Act of 1963 and then 1965. We have always borne the burden. That's just what that black tax means. But if we don't say something today, it will be us tomorrow. So thank you, Patrick. Y'all, I want to have these conversations, and I appreciate Patrick. He said, I concur. No, brother, come on. But, I just think that we don't have that luxury. We have to worry about jobs. We have to worry about police brutality. We have to worry about sexism. We have to worry about colorism. We have to worry about it all. And so I think it's good that we have different organizations focusing on different things. But my sorority sister, my other sister from another mister, said that she said if the dogs were packed in there like that, they would be outraged. And she's right.
It's a damn shame.
She's right. That's her company. It's a damn shame. She just chimed in.
Damn shame. Yeah, they would be outraged.
They would, and she's right.
Dogs in a kennel piled up like that, and that is so unfortunate that they are worried about. And I said it, goddamn dogs.
They would be.
Life means that much to them that they would be so outraged by true animals rather than treating people like animals.
That's right. Because you have a circus. They talk about Obama, and it's true. He did send ICE out. We did get a lot of illegal immigrants out. And then they said that it was mostly illegal immigrants that were released out of that 6,000. Okay, well, that's fine. And Chantal makes a very good point. She said next it'll be our black boys. Well, they're already doing that. So she's absolutely right. We need to be outraged about this. So, but the truth of it is we bear that black tax. We bear the burden. We shoulder it. And so that's why, y'all ready for this? Y'all not gonna be ready for what I'm about to say.
Oh Lord.
I need some more hot tea. That is why at this juncture, I am in complete support for Mayor Pete Buttigieg. He has a black agenda. Y'all know I said I will not support a candidate that does not have a black specific agenda. He's got an 18-page black specific agenda. He is dealing with racial equality. Now, he's got a big thing in Indiana right now where they coming for him, and they are talking about he fired the sheriff, but then somebody else came in and he's not doing anything there. I don't think that he is insensitive. I think that there is a big deal going on. The same way I came for our police chief Renee Hall. Then y'all heard me say that I did not agree with the Latino Police Association. I thought it was a grab and a point, instead of dealing with real issues, because what I believe in doing is being fair. I talk about the things that I think need to be said, but I also believe in being fair. He got a black specific agenda. Let me tell you something. Y'all came for me and told me, oh, y'all lit my DM up when I talked about Kamala. Oh, Angelo, they came for me. But I'm a big girl, and I ain't never scared. So, and I appreciated what was being said. So here's the thing. I am not against Kamala. Or Kamala. How you say her name?
Kamala.
Okay. So I'm not against Kamala. What I am against is pandering. I'm against for being for show. I'm against saying one thing and doing something else. And I don't care what color you are. You could be chartreuse. It's not about that to me. I've had a lot of AKAs ask me. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So are we.
Yes, we are.
It's not about that. I will not. I could. I will not support someone just because they're a member of my organization, or just because they're black, or just because they're a woman, or just because they're a teacher, or just because they worked in healthcare. I won't do that, because that does not serve the purposes of our community. And I got two beautiful little black boys that I'm worried about. Peter Buttigieg, I want to say it right because, there's a lot of people out there in the memes saying it wrong, and I don't want to have a slip of tongue. So he has a black specific agenda. Kamala has not come out with one. Neither has Cory Booker. Neither has Elizabeth Warren. Neither has Bernie Sanders. They have not come out with a black specific agenda. And I am voting for the person with the black specific agenda. Now, somebody in my life that I care very deeply for said to me with eyebrows raised, you know he can't win. Mm-hmm. Well, okay. They said the same thing about Barack. I was one of them that said it about Barack, if I just keep it really 100. Because, I mean, it's us. We just moved to the studio, but we still on the porch. I said that too. I don't know if he can win or not. He is an openly gay man, and he's married to a white man. What I do know is we have too many people saying we don't deserve reparations. He's not saying that. We have people saying they're going to give us schools and hospitals. Now, how has that worked out for us so far? So I am supporting someone who believes in cutting a check. Now, he hadn't necessarily said cutting a check, but it's not off the table either. We need a check. Don't y'all want a check? I mean, there's a lot of black folks out there talking about they don't need a check, and if you got a check, then the black folks will mess it out. But it should be yours to mess out. Just like the Japanese got $20,000. Everybody got $20,000. Just like Holocaust survivors, at the behest of the United States government, just received last week or the week before their 60th check from Germany. Just like the Indians. And I posted it on my page. So y'all go ahead. Patrick said cut the check. Y'all go ahead and check it out on the Black Tea Sip Facebook page. But I posted all of the information that tells you how the Native American community, now it's not all Native Americans, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. You have to belong to a specific tribe, you have to have your number, all that. But look here, what I know for sure is that I'm entitled. My lineage is the indigenous people. You know them folks when Christopher Columbus came over here and said that he was in India because he was stupid and he didn't know where he was going? I'm part of that. They were very dark-skinned people, long, fine, jet black hair. It's my daddy's folks. My mama's grandmother, I told y'all, Mexican. We stole Texas from Mexico. I am part of indigenous people. If anybody gets a check, baby, I ought to be in that number. Like the Saints marching in. I ought to be in that number. Cut the check. Oh, Chantal said the Jewish community got a check. Yes, ma'am. Everybody got a check. But now we're being told they're going to give us schools and hospitals. Y'all already gave us schools. Y'all already given us hospitals. It didn't work out. Let us build our own communities like Rosewood, and then this time don't string us up from trees and don't burn us. Let us create our communities in Oklahoma. We already have proven we can get it done. Just cut the check. I don't know that Mayor Pete is the one that's going to say cut the check, but what I do know is y'all should check him out. This bandwagon mentality, I talked about it at length, and I'm not going to harp on it because y'all tired of me on my soapbox. And guess what? I didn't even bring my soapbox in today. But we need to support somebody other than because they belong to our organization. Absolutely. Or because, that doesn't work for us. Shanika, it doesn't.
It doesn't, no. Everybody needs to have their own opinion, and you have to be self-educated just about the issues that each candidate has and brings to the forefront. So, it might be painful to watch the debates. That's a 2-3 day process, but, it's necessary to at least see what the conversation. There's so many of them.
So many of them, and it's so poorly done.
Mm-hmm. Talking all over each other.
I mean, let's keep it 100. Now, again, this is not a Kamala bashing. I'm just telling the truth. She won the debate in hearts and minds because she came out very strong. And I said on Facebook, now a lot of people supported. I said, I don't think it was a fair fight. And I don't, because white men cannot come against a black woman and survive. It can't happen. They would have said they were sexist, they were racist, and the way they treated Poe Joe, I talked about it last time. Joe Biden was sitting there. He looked like a deer caught in the headlights. Didn't he look like a little boy somebody told him he was about to get a spanking? Like, when you get home, I'm going to spank your butt. That's how he looked. Like, he didn't know in the words of my mom, he didn't know if he should poop or go blind. So, but I don't think it was a fair fight. I also, y'all, Lord, I ain't going to stay on this long. Help me, Jesus, have good sense. She came out and said that she did not believe that the Department of Education, ergo the federal government, should be in charge of busing. That's what she attacked Joe Biden on. She attacked him on not supporting the legislation that would have given the right to the Department of Education for busing. Y'all, come on. Mm-hmm. Come on. I want to support her. I want to the depths of my being. Lord knows I got green veins that have pink blood running through them. I want to support her. But I can't do it if it, look here, my grandmama said, if it don't make sense, it's a lie somewhere. Now, if you are really that upset at the debate to do that, that's how you feel. You know what? My mama say, die with the lie. Stay with it. You can't just come out later and then say, well, no, we need somebody who's going to be true. Because, see, all this topsy-turvy-ness, they do that when they get in the office, too. We need somebody who's going to stand up for us because they have always had a white-specific agenda. Every 4 years. You don't have a black specific agenda, you do not have my vote. And with this little platform that I'm trying to build and hold on to, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it purposefully. I'm going to use it intently. I'm going to use it if I have to stand on the mountaintop. I'm going to use it. And I'm going to make sure y'all are educated. I'm going to make sure that we point to the right directions. I'm going to make sure that you understand what's at stake because we are actually sitting at the table and not realizing we are on the menu. They are devouring us. This is not, understand this immigration thing, this is not about getting illegal immigrants out. This is about leveling the playing field because the Hispanic community is looking at 2045 being the largest, not minority, the largest population in the United States. That is what this is about. So make no mistakes. We are at war. This is civil war. They just haven't showed up with the guns ablazing in your backyard yet, but we are at war. And we're at war in a whole lot of ways. Not just because they shooting us in the street. Not because they locking our husbands and our babies and our daddies up. We are at war in our health. We have food deserts in our community. We can't get a good meal to eat. We are at war. So I don't know if Buttigieg is going to actually get my vote when I get in that booth. But right now, he has my attention. He has my attention because when they start talking about Christianity, the Republicans, the GOP, has captured that and made it their own. But it's a dog whistle. Because I mentioned earlier, the Little Mermaid, they now have this group that had, last time I checked, it was 32,000 people in this group, ladies and gentlemen. 32,000 people in this Christians Against the Little Mermaid. You heard about Angelo? So they are upset because a little black girl, you know, the little twin girls that sing so beautifully. Beyonce, now Beyonce need her ass whooped for this. Beyonce gave them kids 3 albums, $1 million.
Wow.
Now, I was in the music business for about 15 minutes. That ain't no good deal. So now I don't know if she's going to take them on tour with her because your money as an artist is really made on tour. It's really not made in album sales. Your recognition is made in album sales, and then you make your money on tour. So, you know, I'm not saying Beyonce is trying to screw them. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I read it again, and then I read it again. I was like, okay, that's just $330,000, give or take $3,000, $4,000 there for an album. Beyonce know the game. Make your money be. That Beehive. And the Beehive come, look here. I got a whole lot of Raid. And I done sprayed myself completely down with what is it called? You know, with the forest kind where you spray yourself and it stinks.
Deep.
Oh. So get off me, cause baby, y'all want this smoke. This ain't what you want. I'm not a Beyonce fan, but I'm not a Beyonce hater. I'm not at all. I respect her grind. I really respect her father and what he was able to accomplish. But Beyonce, girl. Let me post some more hot tea in here. I was really stuck by that little album deal.
Ain't that why Destiny's Child broke up? All that greed?
Mm-hmm. And we're not supposed to be having church. So, but the little girl that she signed that signed the contract with Beyonce, she and her sister, they cast her as Ariel. And I'm telling you, they had a conniption, and now that's the group that I see that has the largest population, 32,000 members, and a lot of black folks. I gotta take a break, but I'm going to hurry up and get this out. There's a movie. It's hard to find. It's called Spook at the Door. And it's about a black man that joined the FBI. He was recruited, very smart. He joins the FBI, and the FBI trains him, and then they start having these string of robberies. And it's almost like Robin Hood. These black people are robbing banks, and then building their community, helping their community out. So he tracks them down and finds them, and he has a secret meeting with them, and he says, look here, y'all got this done right and this done right, and this is accurate, but you're not doing this part right, and if this part that's missing, this gap, this deficiency, is going to cause you to get locked up. Let me help you. And the movie is called Spook at the Door, and what we need is some spooks at the door, because the spooks at the door tell us what to do and how we should react, what's coming down the pike, so that we are better prepared. So there are some black folks that are in the groups that are DMing me, and one white man who are DMing me and telling me what's going on in this group. It's a hate group. And I want to know why Facebook has not shut it down. Why has Facebook not shut it down like he did Farrakhan and Alex Jones? Because it's a hate group. You know, the Klan doesn't openly post on Facebook. I understand they have a closed group. It's a hate group. We're going to talk about it in a minute. I got to take a quick break. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip. I got my girl with me. Y'all stay with me. Go grab your cup. I'm going to fill it up. We're not done yet.
This is Ed Gray of the Commish Radio Show. Double your
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world, and that's our job. Done.
Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together?
But they're like, why does she want to be attorney general?
Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
And then I was out there with a shirt that said Obama Mama.
Hello, all you melanated beauties. Sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
That was the whole point. Nobody thought a black man could win.
And what he did was he told them that he would not. All right, we're back. Now we were talking about hate groups and talking about Christianity being a dog whistle for hate. And so the GOP, the Republicans, have it's almost uncanny, very decisively ensured that they own Christianity. Because, see, the Democrats, we're liberal, so we must be godless. And what that means when someone starts talking about Christianity, they really mean hate group. White supremacy. White man's ice is colder. That's really what it means. And I was dumb and stupid and oblivious to that. It wasn't until I started seeing all these things from The Little Mermaid. And I'm thinking to myself, well, now this is a fictional character. Y'all upset because a black girl got cast? Well, hoo-hoo. That Ariel had black friends. She had black friends. So all mermaids not white. Lord, today. All mermaids are not white. But you had Tommy Lauren. I don't even know why this woman breathes air. Like, she has got to be the dumbest person God ever put skin on. She said that mermaids were white just like Santa Claus and Jesus.
Wow. The ignorance. Oh, my goodness.
I can't wait for them to die and go to heaven so they can see exactly what happened. I mean, I could give a whole history lesson about the Caucasus Mountains, but y'all don't want to do that. But you should look it up, Caucasus Mountains. That's all I'm going to do. That's the key word of the day. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, Caucasus Mountains. That's your word, your study word. That's your homework for next week. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I realized that we are playing a very dangerous game when we align ourselves. So I did this thing called Vote, Run, Lead. Crystal, I showed earlier that she drugged me this thing and then made me pay $25 to go to this. And me and Crystal ended up teaching the class. Child, I never. And so I realized that there has been this movement to group everybody together. And so women in particular, well, black women will holler, all issues are women's issues. Bull dookie. No, it is not. And let me tell you why it's not. White women do not worry about whether or not their children or their fathers, their brothers are going to come home because the police got behind them. That's not true. And I'm going to say this. This is probably unkind to say, but, we sip power to pour truth. Hold on. Because I'm sipping. Because you sleep black don't make you be black.
Amen.
Y'all need to stop that. Y'all need to stop. Just like Kamala got a white husband, that don't make her be white. Y'all need to stop doing that. There are other reasons why they would say someone is acting like an Oreo or not acting according to their community. Oh, my makeup. And so, that's y'all need to stop that. All issues are not women's issues because I don't see anybody on the front line of our issues but us. Now, I'm not saying other races are not involved. I'm not that naive. I'm not that stupid. But what I am saying is when it comes to a comprehensive movement, they are not pulling our issues in. I mean, here's case in point. The Me Too movement was started by a black woman. Who gets credit for the Me Too movement? Rose McGowan. So y'all stop doing that. We have got Christians that are hating on us. It's a Klan movement. We need to understand where we are. So if you are interested in getting your just due, then you need to support a candidate because that's what they're talking about. And I'm not talking about, a 10-point plan that has all these ideas and there's no substance to it. One thing I can say about Elizabeth Warren, whatever idea she comes up with, she has a way to pay for it. Now, whether or not she'll actually be able to do it, I do not know. But what I can tell you is if she has an idea, she has a way to pay for it. That is what you ought to be looking for. All right. So, Little Mermaid, everybody, please go see the Little Mermaid movie. Please see it 2 or 3 times. Y'all don't bootleg the Little Mermaid. Don't do it. Don't do it, y'all. Let's support this little black girl because she's under a lot of fire. And can you imagine how bittersweet it is to be cast in the role, to be excited? This is her first real opportunity. This is what she's always dreamed of doing. And then they piss on her and tell her it's raining by saying, we want somebody white. I think the funniest meme, I'm going to touch on this and I'm going to be done. I think the funniest meme I've seen, I posted it on the Black Tea Sip page, was a Muslim woman. I told y'all, we ain't all in the fight together. A Muslim woman said, I'm sorry, but, and with 2 T's, so basically saying ass. And I was like, is she illiterate or was this something she meant to do? Okay, I've digressed. And so she said this was not her Ariel. Girl, it ain't nobody's Ariel because Ariel not real, honey bun. But somebody else, baby, what I live for, her door, a good clap back. Girl, I love a good clap back. And this, really and truly, I did not give the Black Excellence Award to this girl. Y'all please go to the Black Tea Sip page because I didn't write down her name. And I'd like to call names, but the Black Excellence Award goes to her because her clapback was, and she called the woman by name, Fatima is what her name is, Fatima. I remembered her name. She said, you can't even pick your own husband. What make you think you can pick your Ariel? Girl. Boom. So the Black Excellence Award goes to her because, baby, that clapback was everything. It was classic. It was anointed. It spoke truth because how are you so discriminatory when there are so many systemic issues in the and not all mosques have this problem, not all Muslims are facing this problem because there are progressive movements in the Islamic community and there are fathers and brothers and husbands that do not have this aligned thinking, but we are saying comprehensively there it has been where they pick your mate for you. So that's what we're saying for somebody to get all upset. Let me also say this, black people, this is just the black people. This is black people. No, I'm sorry. This is just for African Americans. And and no disrespect. Everybody else, if you're not African American, if you're not from a slave history, just hold on. I'll be done in just a second. I'm going to need y'all to stop trying to defend white folks against us. I'm going to ask you to just cease and desist. Stop supporting the other side of the argument against us. I am not saying you don't have a right to your opinion. You do. I am not saying you don't have a right to post what you want to post. You do. I am not saying that you cannot have a conversation. You can. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is understand your responsibility. I keep saying you bear the black tax. Stop going out here and siding against us and then trying to tell us you with us. Now, I know 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 rights just make a left. So I need y'all to stop. So I had a girl I'm well acquainted with. She's AK, HBCU grad. She said she didn't understand why everybody was so upset about why we did not like the fact that the Caucasus nation was coming against us for this black girl being cast as Ariel when we didn't want Zoe Saldana to play Nina Simone. Okay, now hold on. I had to brace myself. I had to read that 2 or 3 times. Okay, if you know anything about Nina Simone left the United States and went to Europe and fought the good fight. She was very vocal about the systemic, institutionalized racism that was against us. She was vocal about it universally around the globe. She spoke truth to power. When they interviewed her, she never held her tongue. So when you start comparing Zoe Saldana to this movement about the Little Mermaid, it's a moot point because it's like comparing apples and cumulus clouds. I told y'all, my grandmama said if it don't make sense, it's a lie somewhere. Let's talk about Zoe Saldana. She is Dominican and Puerto Rican. Now, I went to law school in Florida. I don't talk about it often, but I did. I lived there 4 years. I had an opportunity to meet people from all over the Caribbean. the lighter you are in Puerto Rico, the more you have a more Caucasus mentality. Even in Cuba, in Cuba, everybody's together because they all poor and driving old 50 cars. And then when they get over here, the lighter they are, colorism is real in every community. That's what my girl was trying to help me understand yesterday. Colorism is real. It's not till they get over here that they start to decide, okay, well, you know what? If I'm accepted by the Caucasian community, and I disavow my Hispanic or Latino roots, then I'm going to do better. Well, I mean, you can't blame them for that because, it's beautiful to be black, but you also have to be strong. So, and everybody's not. We got a bunch of weaklings, and the weakest link causes the chink in the armor. So what I want you to understand, black people, is when you do that, you hurt us. So this whole thing about Zoe Saldana, she does not live her life aligned with the African American experience. See, our black life experience is not the same. The African American experience is an experience that stems from the fruit of the poisonous tree of Jim Crow. So that's not part of who she is. And then somebody was like, and she married this Italian man. Well, that's because Italians do not consider themselves Caucasian. They are Italian. So when you say that she was not embraced for playing Nina Simone, they put her in blackface and put a prosthetic nose on her.
Oh, no.
So this is a ridiculous argument. No. They are not going to paint this little black girl in white and try to pass her off with red hair. That's not what's happening here. So it's not the same. It is not the same as I'm telling you, it's like comparing apples and cumulus clouds. There's no connection. You have a right to feel the way you feel, but stop posting that because you hurt the movement. You are hurting us by aligning yourself, whether directly or indirectly, with those who oppose us. They have been, and everybody talked about Cleopatra, and I had a big thing about that. I said, stop using this white woman to make your argument. Use Nefertiti, considered the most beautiful woman in the world at the time. Use the Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba is the reason that they say that Jesus is direct descendant from Ethiopian descent of the continent of Africa. That is why they say that. Y'all need to open a book. I had somebody come for me and told me that I need to get a life. And I thought to myself, and you need to get a book because reading is fundamental, dumbass. Because here's the thing about Cleopatra. She was Greek. She was from the lineage. Her father served, and then, she served with her brothers until she killed them off. And, you got to know your history. But that's what it takes. Shout out to the deceased Mr. Wilburn, who taught history in a very real way. See, I got a good old HBCU education. My line sister just joined. And so she knows that we got a good HBCU education. Hey, Keisha. And because of that, we understood what happened when Alexander the Great defeated Egypt. They pushed all of the Egyptian pharaohs out that were actually descendants of the lineage of the continent of Africa called Kemet until Napoleon conquered them in 1700. Didn't want to make this a history lesson, but y'all need to understand, I walked that line. And so because of that, she was Greek. She was not of African descent. Now, there's an argument that her mother may have been Egyptian, and then there's also an argument that her father may have been Egyptian. But here's what you need to know. Cleopatra was the seventh Cleopatra. Cleopatra is also the name for queen, just like they had Pharaoh. There was not one Pharaoh, there were several. So she was not black. So what you're saying is y'all allow Elizabeth Taylor to play this woman that should have been darker, of a darker hue. Well, perhaps because she's from the Mediterranean, Greek. So she would have had some color, but she is not. Unless you're gonna say all people are from Africa. So I mean, if that's your argument, then okay. But you need to stop trying to play like she was African. She wasn't. She was funny looking. She was homely. She was pudgy. Now, the thing about Cleopatra, she's supposed to be very, very good in bed. Like they say about J-Lo. And so, well, that's not me. Keenan Ivory Wayans said that's how she got to be a fly girl.
Oh.
She was good in bed.
Well,
so I mean, that is why Cleopatra, the seventh Cleopatra, was able to do what she did with Mark Antony, but it's not because she was black. And let's keep it 100. She was a bit of a whore. So let them have her. Why are y'all trying to get you know what? We got Nicki Minaj. Let them have Cleopatra. So I mean, y'all need to stop that, and y'all need to read, and y'all need to know what y'all talking about. So use somebody else. There are too many
No filter.
black substantial people in history. Let them have Cleopatra. Don't use that as your argument. Okay? All right. I told y'all that we were going to be talking about how to talk to surgeons about your health. I think that's extremely important. And we need to know how to talk to surgeons and doctors about our health, because I have been told that what they do in the operating room is they mock you and say, oh, we got another WebMD doctor. We got another internet doctor here. You know, and the surgeons are saying that. I got to take a quick break. Listen, I know that y'all can't hear the music, and some of y'all were texting me and DMing me, telling me about the audio. I'm not playing music because they try to stop this sip. And I had hey, Sora Bridget, she's trying to tell me that I need to say I don't own the rights. Well, we've done that. It did not work. This is a way to censor me. This is a way to stop me from saying the things I'm saying. This is a way to stop the opportunity to speak truth to power. This is to stop you from being able to speak to me. Some of y'all tell me what you think right here on the page, then you go back later and you watch a replay and you tell me what you think, and we have good conversations. That is a mechanism to do that, because when that happens, even if I say I don't own the rights, right, Angelo? We've said it, we've done it a few times. They still cut me off. But what happens is UMG and Sony will mute part of it. Usually it's in the first 4 minutes. UMG muted me, Shanika, for 3 minutes and 42 seconds. So when you go on to see the replay, you think that there's no audio, and so then you don't watch it, and I lose my audience. In the middle of the show, Angelo can attest, my magnificent engineer will tell you they have cut us off midstream. So we're not playing music, but we're here. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. This is Coy with your black tea sip. Go grab your cup. I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to tell you how to stay healthy, because healthy is wealthy. This is Coy, and I'll be right back.
Nobody pray for me. It been a day for me.
Okay. All right. All right.
There we go.
I know y'all can't hear it on Facebook, but the YouTube people can. We got some Kendrick Lamar, honey. We had to get him out of the love station, honey. It was just a little too romantical in here, child. So before the break, I talked about how we need to communicate with surgeons and doctors. So I have a very dear friend who works in the healthcare supply arena and is oftentimes in the OR. And one of the things that I found was really, really concerning to me was that when they're operating on the spine, they put you face down. And they have this table and it flips you and all that. And that's kind of what he does. He has to position the patient, and he's like an expert in that, okay? And so he has to be in the room. But there are specific pads that the hospital should be purchasing. Well, they don't always purchase those pads. And what happens is those surgeries are very long. And what happens if you're not positioned with the right pads and everything, you begin to sweat. The worst thing for the skin is wetness and pressure. So people come out of the spine surgeries literally with bruises all down the front of their body. Their forehead, their cheek, their neck, their chest, all the way down. Groin area, all the way down the body. So that started me to thinking, because he sells a set, an extraction set that removes rods and things from the body. So let's say somebody had a hip replacement, Angelo. And so like it fits, like the older ones fit like a ball with a groove, okay? And they use a tool that's kind of like an ice cream scooper to get it out. So I got Shanika here because she deals in revenue cycle and the billing for hospitals. So she was like, the director told all the people what to do. Okay, so I have her here to kind of speak to the money side of it. But what I thought was very interesting is the people who sell the implants don't always have the best extraction tool. So if someone's going for a hip or knee replacement, they've got one in, they need to have one removed. The tools are not always the best tools to remove those items. So a doctor who's doing a hip replacement who cannot get it out with the extraction tool that the company has that actually made the hip and ball, that metal ball, then what happens is they cut the bone. And Shanika and I were talking about this yesterday. So it was explained to me that it's kind of like a ship in the bottle. So you know how you have the ship in the bottle and you have to break the bottle if you don't know how to pull the ship out, because there are special tools that people use and they turn a certain way and they pull it out. Well, when you cut the bottle, what you're cutting is the bone. So you cut the bone to pull it out. So the difference between cutting the bone and actually using the proper extraction tools is 6 months to heal when you cut the bone, or 6 weeks to heal if you use the proper tools. The tools to rent to have the proper tools is $1,600. And a lot of time hospitals don't want to spend the $1,600 to rent it. Now, I have been told there are some surgeries that deal with the spine or hip. Some of the spine surgeries are literally $2,000 plus a minute. That is why people are walking out of these hospitals with $200,000 and $300,000 bills. And if the doctor cannot get it out, then a surgery that might take 6 hours might end up being 10 or 12. So now he's tired and he's operating on you. So we need to talk about the kind of conversations we need to have. So Shanika, when they start talking about, just in the ER, when we were talking about my mom, right? Mm-hmm. In the ER, you were saying to me that they're looking for a code a lot of times. So they're asking specific questions about a code.
Well, it starts long before you even get to the coding part. So as she mentioned, revenue cycle has kind of been my expertise, and that's basically the finance of healthcare, or the billing and collections component of it. So it starts long before you get to that point. You have to basically educate yourself on what it is that is about to happen and occur to you, and what are the nuances between that process that you need to be educated on. And then further, what is it going to cost you out of pocket to be able to deal with the ramifications of the surgery that you're about to have. So when you're talking to that physician or to the surgeon, meeting for that initial consultation to figure out, okay, what is it that you need to do and what is the procedure going to entail, you need to really, and most people, most just, black, white, otherwise, are blown back completely by the fact that they are needing to have surgery anyway. So everything that's being said to you is like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 and you can't hear or understand or process or comprehend any of the other logistics that they're coming at you with fast and hard, because it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. If you're not familiar with all the terminology and the lingo, and then there's forms, and then people are, coming at you all different kind of ways. But if you don't take the time to step back and ask the right questions and really try to process the information, it's going to be worse for you down the line, because you're going to receive bills from everywhere, from the emergency room doctor, from the pathologist, from the anesthesiologist, from the doctor himself, from the hospital. You're going to have bills coming from all over. So you need to understand what you're actually getting yourself into as you begin this process. So the doctor will sit there and basically tell you, okay, this is why you need to have this procedure, and this may, be what's actually going to happen. And you can get as much detail as you want about that situation, but understand behind the scenes, medicine is not as lucrative as it used to be. People used to think the doctors were highly paid and, just making all this money. Who's making money now? Either anesthesiologists or
specialists.
Radiologists are making exorbitant amount of money. But for the normal practitioner, and even for surgeons these days, if you're a general surgeon, you're not making the kind of money, because the way that reimbursement is packaged these days, it's less.
So let me touch on that just for a second, because I used to work in healthcare. If some of y'all don't know, I was the first medical device security analyst in the United States. But prior to that, I was like HIPAA and all that. So I don't feel like running down my pedigree. But I have some experience in healthcare, and what I can tell you is that when the coding comes through and you go in the hospital and they admit you, if you return to that ER within 30 days, they
will not get paid.
They will not get paid.
They will not get paid.
And so it is incumbent upon you to not go to urgent care when you get out the hospital. Go back and make them see about you. Because what happens is it holds them accountable. Because we have gotten to a society where, it used to be if you had a baby, you stayed in the hospital a week. Now, you may not want to stay there, because Lord knows I was ready to go home. But they wanted to make sure that you were whole and well, and that the baby was whole and well. And we have in the United States the highest fatality rate of newborns in the world. It's us, not third world countries. It's us, because we it's like a assembly line, and we just pushing the babies out. So understand that you do have a certain amount of power. There's a doctor now. He's got a movement going to ask you to ask your doctors, your surgeons. But what I know is, let's say an extraction set, and I started thinking about this because we are experiencing a lot of knee and back and hip surgeries and replacements. People are getting operating their neck. We're not healthy. We're not healthy because, as you well know, we live in food deserts, people eating fast food, and I could go on and on. But we're not healthy. So you've got people that are overweight, that are putting a lot of weight on their joints. They're having to get their knees replaced, their hips replaced, and all of that. Plus, they're eating food that is literally deteriorating your ligaments, your joints, your tendons. Okay, that's a talk show for a different day. But what you need to understand is you need to have very real conversations with these doctors, with these surgeons. You need to ask. If nothing else, you need to ask. I asked my son, and they were all upset with me, and I did not care. I asked anesthesiologists, how long have you been practicing? Where were you before now? Have you ever killed somebody? They all literally, have you ever killed somebody? This is my child. He's irreplaceable. I'm going to take good care of him. I said, well, please believe if you don't, I'm going to take real good care of you. Because they need to understand that you have expectations. And we are too trusting, especially older Black America, older African Americans. Because I keep saying Black, but there's a qualifier. And so the experience for Black Americans is not necessarily aligned or tantamount to the African American experience in this country. They are taught. My son's ophthalmologist told me we're very friendly. Her husband is my children's pediatrician. My youngest son has never known anyone else. And they He's biracial, but he's Indian from India, and because y'all still confused there with Native American, y'all gotta stop doing that. And he's black. Grew up here, went to the Air Force, played football for University of Miami. He considers himself black, right? She considers herself African American, and it works for them. She told me in medical school, Shanika, they are trained not to listen to us. They are trained to believe we do not know what we're talking about and cannot participate in our health care. Now, I've talked about that before. But what I'm saying to you today is it's a difference of $1,600 that may or may not, listen, hear me well, that may or may not be the reason why it takes you 6 months or 6 weeks to heal from hip replacement surgery.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a cost-cutting, cost-efficiency type environment now in healthcare. Because the reimbursement is so small, they have to make sure that they can accommodate all the tools, all the supplies, all of the visits, all of the medications, all in that one package price. So, for example, if your surgery costs $40,000, the hospital may be reimbursed in hospital only about $16,000 for that. But everybody else who has a bill associated with that, your anesthesiologist, your surgeon, and so forth, those bills are also considered in that. And you will have to pay what they call co-insurance. And everybody's heard about deductibles. Yes, you have to meet that. And once you meet that, and most of that is met up front, but if you haven't met your deductible, then look forward to that large chunk of responsibility that's going to be sent to you in terms of a bill. Now, you can work out a payment arrangement with just about anybody. There's other mechanisms like care credit, if your credit is good and you want to do monthly payments associated with that so that you can just be done with that bill. Not all of us have the ability to just write out a $10,000 check,
That's right.
But there are some of those that can, and consider yourself blessed and really fortunate. But healthcare is a business, and it has to operate with a profit margin. So therefore, what people don't always know and understand is that the tools and the supplies that are often used are at the practitioner's discretion. So if I, as a surgeon, have a specific company that I want to use because I like the way that their pad works versus the one that the hospital uses, then I can mandate for that particular surgery that this is what I want to receive. And so not that all of them can order all the top of the line stuff and expect to be reimbursed for all of those things at the end of the day, but you can ask those questions. Are there items that are part of this service that are going to be non-covered services or non-covered supplies for this that I'm going to be billed for on the back end? And then you know that's your ownership or your responsibility outside of that to say, if I don't have the items or the tools that you've identified for this service, how is it going to affect me financially on the end? And do I need to do this? And most of all, seek a second opinion too. We never do that because it's an inconvenience.
Well,
or we want to hurry up and get the surgery and be done with it because we don't want to deal with whatever's going on anymore. And there are situations where it is urgent, where you need to actually take care of it. But I think a second opinion is always warranted.
And a third.
Because there may be alternate mechanisms that were not discussed with you at this primary visit with this initial surgeon, that, alternate methods for us to, resolve this issue.
Right. And I want to speak to that because now y'all know I have two of the most beautiful black babies on the face of this planet. So my little man was I don't know. Can y'all still hear me? Somebody tell me if you can hear me on Facebook. My little man was sick, and I took him in, and I did not get him a flu shot because he's allergic to dairy and wheat, and there's an egg component in the flu shot. So I don't give him a flu shot. Now they're saying it doesn't exist, but I'm not really big on vaccinations, but that's a talk show for a different day. And so with that being said, okay, thank you, Shanta. With that being said, I took him to the doctor. I took him to the ER. I couldn't get the fever down, and then I ended up taking him to a doctor. And I got bills outside of what the hospital and the doctor, the nurse practitioner at the doctor's office charged me separately. Well, let me tell you what I did. And you have the power to do this. I told them, no, I was not going to pay the bill because they didn't help my child. After it wasn't the flu, and after he did a false negative for strep, they sent us home. So I'm here with a sick baby, and they're talking about it's viral. It was not viral, it was strep. And you need to know that strep taxes the heart if it's not treated. our doctor, like I'm a child, the pediatrician was moving from one office to another, and he wasn't seeing patients. Finally, I was able to get in touch with him, and this is the same pediatrician I just spoke of. He went to another office, in a midwife's office, and then he saw my son because he said, that sounds like strep. You need to come in immediately, and he worked it out to see me. So what I'm saying to you is, I told them I was not going to pay it, and I told them why. Each time they sent me the bill, I wrote on the bill, I am not paying for services. My son remains sick until such and such a day, blah, blah, blah. I finally got a bill from both entities, zero balance. You have the power. My father was very ill at one time. He collapsed at Home Depot. They sent my mother a bill to go from Home Depot, those of you that live in Dallas, Wheatland Road, it was less than a mile, to the hospital, Methodist. Now, don't nobody go to Charleston Methodist because it's like a Roach Motel. You walk in, but you don't walk out. But at the time, that's where the ambulance took him. And the bill they sent her was for $1,400. They could have, if he had been in good health, walked. That's how short a distance it was. My mama said, I'm not paying $1,400. You send me a bill here that's reasonable, and I will pay it. Finally, my mom talked to someone, and they said, well, ma'am, what is the distance? I happen to be there. I asked Google, because it's your friend. I asked Google for the distance, and I don't remember what it was, but it was like 0.4 miles or something. It was less than half a mile. They said, no, ma'am, you're not going to pay a bill for $1,400. And then she got a bill that said zero balance. Like, they didn't even charge her at all. So you have the power. And what I really want people to know is a lot of us are getting older, and our parents are getting more seasoned. Yeah, that's the word I like to use because my mama don't like her saying she's getting older because she says she's getting better, and she is. So we need to be more of advocates. I go, and I realize that my time is more flexible, but you have to send somebody in the family, or if nothing else, have them write down on that sheet that they can speak to you. Call the doctor's office and have the doctor talk to you on a conference about what's going on with your loved one. Have them say exactly what's going on. My mom and dad go to the same doctor. I go to the appointments with them. The doctor will print off information from like the doctor's Google web, and I don't remember what she called it. She said, this is like our Google, and she prints it off and gives it to me and tells me, these are the things I want you to look for, so on and so forth. Now, my mother does not take any medication. My mother is healthy, but she is now pre-diabetic because she was so stuck on she don't take no medication. She stopped walking. She stopped doing all of that. My dad does take a low-dose hypertension pill. That's because he don't drink water because, child, he just drink Kool-Aid. So I participate with them, but what I also do is make sure that they understand they need to talk to me. My parents are older. They're not going to understand all that, and guess what? They're not going to remember. But let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to pay, as Crystal says, Crystal said God said no charge. I'm not going to pay for something when I didn't get it. When I don't get the benefit of my dollars, just like when you call the cable company, you call Spectrum, and you tell me, I didn't buy that. I'm not paying for that. And they take it off the bill same way.
Well, even when you do get the services, order a full transcript of everything that was done for you in that hospital so that you can actually go through, because they could be charging you for somebody else's supplies. If you were in there for a heart transplant or some other thing and they charge you for a cast on your leg, then that's a charge to you that shouldn't actually be there. But we are so fearful of those bills. We set them to the side. We don't look at them. We hope they're going to go away, that somebody else is going to deal with them. No. Our counterparts of the Caucasian persuasion, they sit there and line by line go through and look at those. I didn't have this. I didn't do that. They will write a letter. They will make a call. They will have those charges removed off of their invoice and their bill. And we should do the same thing. But what do? We sit back. We wait till it hits our credit report. Then we're mad about it because we don't understand why the insurance didn't take care of that. Educate yourself on the business of healthcare and how it actually works, because it will penalize you in the end. It is your business.
It's your business. And healthy is wealthy.
Yes, it is.
And you have to be an advocate for yourself, but you have to be an advocate for these things. Just somebody at your church. This grieves my heart because older people, they're so busy trying to be healthy and take their medicine that some of them don't have food to eat. So we need to be mindful of that. You don't have to pay the bill. I mean, now they can threaten to put it on your credit. Just tell them stand in line. So you don't have to allow someone to charge you for something, even if you did get the benefit of it. Because let me tell you, When he told me that they put people face down, and these people end up with these significant bruises all the way down their body because the hospital did not buy or use the appropriate pads, don't pay for those pads. That's what Shanika is telling you. Get an itemized list just like you do on your credit card statement. You know, if they said that you went to Target and spent $1,200, you're not going to pay that. You're going to dispute that, and you have a right to do that with your health care. What I think is so significant is there is a young woman in New Orleans. I'm not going to call her name because I don't have permission. But she had a partial hysterectomy. No, I'm sorry. That's not correct. She had some kind of female surgery. But what happened was because someone, when they had her in these surgical stirrups, now it's not the kind of stirrups when you go to your gynecologist, but they had her in these surgical stirrups. Because someone leaned on her leg for a significant amount of time,
Jesus.
It caused her to have so many issues that she cannot have children, and she currently walks with a cane. She currently walks with a cane. When the surgery took place, I don't believe she was 35 years old. She did not get one dime when she tried to sue because they said that is something that happens during surgery. Ask questions. What are the ramifications if I do this surgery? What could happen to me? How many times have you performed this surgery? Who are the anesthesiologists you like to work with? Who are the nurses you like to work with? Who is the team that you're going to put together for this surgery? Because then you start asking pertinent questions. They are on high alert that you are going to advocate for yourself, that you are going to know exactly what you're paying for.
And ask all those questions. Now, surgeons are surgeons because they are not known for their bedside manner. Most of them have a God complex and are complete and total assholes, but they're necessary for our society. I work with them every day. Some of them yell and scream, and I cuss them right back. But the point of that is you have to be careful. You have to know who you're dealing with when you're selecting your practitioner or your surgeon that's going to be performing this service on you. They're not always nice people. And so I had a situation with my adoptive mother, who's gone to heaven now, who was on the table, and anesthesia was not thorough, and overheard the physicians talking about how fat she was while they were actually inside of her, and mistakenly left an instrument in there, a side note, while they were actually performing this surgery. So incompetence all the way around. Unfortunately, her cancer was so bad that she ended up passing away anyway. But the point is, how disrespectful can you be when you're on the table, you're in your lowest moment, your most vulnerable state, and someone's talking just straight trash about you on the table? That is so hurtful and just disrespectful, not only to her but to the family. And when she came to and she told them what happened, they're all aghast about, oh, well, we thought the anesthesia was working. Well, no, it wasn't. So
and see, it's those kinds of things, because my father had a brain aneurysm to rupture, and he bled in his brain for about 10 hours. And I remember he broke out in these sores, all in his scalp, all the way down, literally to the bottom of his feet. My mother kept asking about it. They gave him some Eucerin, and they charged like $15, $16, $17 for the Eucerin. Now, y'all know you can go to Eucerin. You can buy Eucerin at CVS or Walmart. It's not going to cost $20. It was just a regular bottle of Eucerin. It wasn't until I got on WebMD, looked at where the brain bleeds, called some people that I knew. They all said the same thing, that area is not common for seizures, and that the medication they were giving him was breaking him out. We told them that they could no longer give him that medication. He stopped the breakouts. So what you need to understand is you have a right to ask questions. And there are surgeries going on. One of my friends was telling me, in positioning the patient, the way the patient was positioned, it was going to put too much pressure on this woman's groin area, and it was going to probably cause her complications later. But that person in their job cannot say that patient is positioned too high. This was a black woman. So you need to ask questions. How will I be positioned in this surgery? What is the normal occurrence? When my dad had the brain bleed, prior to rupturing, he was preparing for surgery. They gave us a video so that we could view the surgery and see what to expect. many times they do film the surgeries. It's not always common, but you can ask for a video of the surgery that's like yours. You can also listen to me, hear me well. You can also talk to every single person that's going to be on that team. You can interview them. They don't like it. You'll get some pushback, but you're paying for the service. And listen to me. It's okay to say no. They told my mama they were going to do surgery on her. My mama said, no, I'm going to wait till after Christmas, Thanksgiving. Somebody got to cook Christmas dinner. And they kept calling. And I told my mom, I said, well, he trying to go to Aspen or something for the holiday. Because they were almost pressuring her. And that's what Shanika was talking about, pressuring her into this surgery. Well, guess what? After my mama told them no, her neck never hurt again. So sometimes the stress of preparing for surgery, it can cause you to feel bad, or you start saying, well, something must be wrong. And then they start telling you all these other things. You know, it's kind of like the car dealer. Mechanic. You go in there and tell him your car sounds like, and when you get through, your car's going bang when he gets finished with telling you everything that's wrong with it. You have a right. And I don't think that we are advocating as African Americans for our health, because we are sickly and we were taught to trust the doctors. Look here, I feel about the same way I said, all white people ain't bad, all black people ain't good. All doctors not bad. But all of them are not good. And I said before, for those of you that are just joining, an ophthalmologist who went to medical school told me they are taught not to listen. Okay, the internist for my mom and dad, she's black as well. She told me the same thing. She said, we are taught not to listen. We are told not to listen to you because you cannot advocate for your own health effectively. That should shock you in a way where you start. And don't care if they get mad. You know, if you're talking to a doctor, especially a surgeon or a specialist of any kind, and you're asking questions and they don't like it, then that's not the doctor for you. And Shanika spoke about that very eloquently. She said, stop letting them tell you anything. Go get a second and a third opinion. You know, listen to them. And a lot of times they don't like to say that another doctor did poorly. So tell them, I'm not asking you about another doctor. I'm asking you for your opinion. Those are the words you use. I'm not asking you to judge him or to say yes or no to what he is telling me. I'm asking you for your opinion. You don't even have to tell me you agree. How would you handle it? Or maybe you don't tell them that you've seen another doctor at all.
Yeah.
Because I think you ought to just tell them you're making an appointment with them, and don't tell them you're looking for a second opinion.
Yes, I agree. Because they are colleagues and they respect one another, and they may actually be friends. I mean, a lot of them run in the same circles.
That's right.
And so you can't really get an honest answer if they are somehow connected with another physician. And so that's very important. But one thing I want to share with you guys, if you want to save some money on some surgery or some significant service, move it to the end of the year. By that time, you have met your deductible, and I would encourage anybody out there that has access to a health savings account or flexible spending account to max it out if you know that you're going to have a heavy-duty procedure at the time of open enrollment, so that you have the funds where you can actually take care of the copay or whatever the amount is. Just off the top, without having to come out of your own pocket, because it's been taken care of through the course of the year. So just a little tidbit of information there. If you get it done before Christmas, then you can just, be off through the holidays and just kind of relax and kick back and enjoy yourself. But that's an important, aspect of how you can actually save some money based on the deductible and so forth.
And the doctors are there. A lot of times you think the surgeons are gone. No, that's when a lot of surgeries are scheduled. They are there.
They are packed.
They're packed. Okay, let me just get this one thing out, because I don't want to forget. If your surgery is scheduled at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you have a right to say, no, I want to be the first one tomorrow morning. Because that doctor has been working all day long, and that doctor's tired. Guess who else is tired? The support staff. They're tired as well. And so you have a right to say, no, that's not a good time. Sometimes they'll tell you to come in, like you have to be there at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning for prep, and then you don't start until 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're saying, well, the doctor got, had a trauma or something happened in surgery. You can say, well, I want to come back tomorrow. I want to be first. Now, it doesn't always work, and sometimes a surgeon will come in, but you have put them on notice that you have an expectation. And I think that that's what we need to be talking about, holding them accountable. You don't necessarily have to be the WebMD source, but you know what? You know a nurse. You know somebody at your church. tell them, the doctor is telling me I need to have surgery. What kind of doctor do you work for? Is there something that I should be looking into? Because you know what? People are a wealth of information, and they want to tell you. Seek those people out, because nobody has all the information. And you are at, you really are at their mercy, because you are no more vulnerable than when you're in the hospital.
So, as an advocate, as children of elderly folks and grandparents and so forth, what we need to understand too is that we can actually do battle with the insurance companies.
Yes.
If in fact you find out that they're not going to pay this claim, and there's no reason where the authorization has been done in advance, and they have approved the procedure as medically necessary, but somehow because of the expense of the procedure, they decide that they're not going to actually pay for it for whatever reason, or they're stalling and hemming and hawing, you can call the insurance company yourself and say, as an advocate for this person, that, this service was approved, and you don't understand why the payment has not yet been received, or that they haven't adjudicated it properly based on the parameters of the insurance coverage that's provided. If they continue to refuse to pay for that, you can appeal that decision up to 3 different levels. You can take it up to clinical review with the medical head of the insurance company. And if you don't get some satisfaction at that point, where they've reviewed all the records, everything that happened, and the claim is still not paid, then you can go to the insurance board for your particular county or state or whatever. It's statewide, but for the state of Texas, you can report them to the insurance board and say that, this was medically authorized, that we, dotted all of our I's and crossed our T's, and they still have not paid this claim. That mostly happens when there is large claims for hundreds of thousands of dollars, where they'll take their time or not want to pay it, or pay portions and components of it, but not the whole thing. And if you are successful in refuting, those charges, or why they haven't billed it, you can get paid with interest on those claims. And so penalties and interest for back to day one, when they should have paid it in the first place. So you have to stay on top of that. You cannot bury your head in the sand. When you get those repeated statements in the mail, then you need to be making some phone calls to say, what the heck is going on here? Because I don't understand why I'm receiving this information, and why the insurance company has not yet paid for this claim.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that. We're coming up on the 1 o'clock hour, and this show, as you well know, is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is on something that is so minute compared to healthcare, but I want to get it out. The Marriott Hotel, I know Shanique gonna start laughing, because I've been fighting with the Marriott. The Marriott Hotel was sued in D.C. for overcharging its customers. So I stayed at the JW Marriott with my beautiful little boys for vacation, and they got the big slides and the lazy river, and we were woo-hooping it up. The Marriott, in addition to the room charged an additional $50 a day resort fee. Okay, fine. And $100 a day incidental fee, whether I use the $100 and charge something to my room or not. So over the room rate, and the room was $281 a night, I was charging additional $150 every day. We stayed 5 days. So y'all can do that math. And so what happened was, they charged me what was supposed to be $1,145.47. They charged me $1,328.54. That's what they held on the card. About 2 days later, I used another card for food, because I don't like to charge things to the room, because it's very difficult to keep up with that. And then they always put in the tip later. And so I don't like to do that. I like to, close out each time, so that I am keeping a tally of what I'm spending. And so I used another card, debit card, for food. What they did was, that card, they held $800. So the resort fee plus the daily. Now, I had not been there every day yet, but they charged me what they expected me to stay. So let's say if something happened, I had to jump up and go home, that was already held. And so because of that, they held $800 of my money on my debit card. Well, that was the card I was using for food and SeaWorld. And child, do y'all know we stayed at SeaWorld from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night? I should have asked them to cut me a check, because I was there a whole work day. And so I had to use yet another debit card. I know y'all wonder, why she got all these accounts, y'all? I don't know, because there ain't a whole lot of money in them. But another debit card for food, because that money was held. Let me tell you what J.W. Marriott did to me. We're talking about going through and not burying your head in the sand. Because I know you're saying, how'd she get here? Well, that's how. So they actually charged every single card that I submitted. Those are unauthorized charges because I'm using the card for food. So they're not authorized to do it. So ultimately, when I get home on July 1st, let me go back. When I got ready to leave, mind you, they're holding, at this point, they've already hit me for $200 plus another $212 plus another $200 that then the bank on the original card that I submitted for the room when you check in said, wait a minute, and stopped them. So they tried to charge that card another $734.47 after the $1,560.58 that was already being held. When they could not charge that card, then they tried to charge the other card. Well, my bank stopped it because they thought it was fraud. So now I've got all my money tied up. So when I get there, she says, her name was Sarah. Oh, and Sarah said, would you like to leave a card on file for the additional charges? What? Because y'all playing around with like over $2,000 of my money. What you mean additional charges? But you know what? I didn't go Oak Cliff, Texas. I was because I'm with my children. I'd be so off the shame. My kids be so shame. And so I just talked to her. I said, is that in addition to the 1,500? And I give them to the cents child. And so she says, well, and so she's trying to explain to me that those charges are going to fall off. But you already have the money pending. So what do you mean it's going to fall off? You want me to pay you another $734.47. So we go back. While I'm talking to her and asking her to give me the exact amount of what I paid for and what's the room rate and all of that, those charges fall off of the initial card, and then they charge $734.47. So I turn around and say, am I good? So she looks at my phone. She's like, oh. So she looks at her screen and she said, oh, yes. I said, can I get a bill that shows a zero balance? She says, yes. She gives it to me. July 1st, in the first account that I did use for food, $200 charge, $354 charge, $400 charge. Oh, then they credited back over to the card that I had to use, the second card for food. So they start crediting that card. So they're taking money out of one account, depositing in another account, and then they've charged me $524. It ended up $609 over what should have been because I have a zero receipt. While I'm on the phone with Wells Fargo, who's telling me I presented the card on the 28th of June, which is the day that we left. And let me tell you, I know I didn't present no card because me and my kids had Chick-fil-A in the car listening to my baby's favorite rap songs before we got on the road. So I didn't charge anything. They said I presented my card and my card was swiped. I said, no, sir. No, sir, it was not. He said, well, that's why we're having a hard time because it shows this swipe. I said, are you asking for the actual receipts that I signed? Well, guess what? When you dispute a charge and the other merchant is coming back saying, no, these charges are legitimate, they are not asking for the actual receipt that you signed. They are taking their word for it. So you know how you dispute a charge and then they'll come back and take the money because when my girlfriend was telling me to work for the bank, they'll take it after so many days.